Welcome to All Things Real Estate on Full Service Radio, 830 WCRN. Now, here's your hosts, Gary Kelley and Brad Avergon.
Hi, and welcome to All Things Real Estate on WCRN, AM 830. I'm Gary Kelley with RE/MAX Executive Realty, and I'm joined today by, as always, by Brad Avergon.
Hey, Gary, good morning.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. So when you were born, were you Brad, Bradley, Bradford?
They couldn't decide between Bradley and Bradford, so I'm just plain old Brad.
Just plain old Brad. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like you missed out? Because there's that actor, Bradford, what is it, Whitley? He was on...
Well, no, you might as well go for Brad Pitt if you're going to go. I mean,
no,
you clearly see the likeness there, don't you?
No.
No, I'm very happy. I'm very happy with my name. I guess I don't know if at this point, I'm very happy. I don't think I can see myself changing. I've been called many things. Brad is the nicest and probably one of them.
That's a good thing. So, Brad, it's getting to be nice weather. Slowly but surely, it's coming around.
Yes, yes. How do you think the market's doing there, Gary?
The market?
Yeah.
You know, I people say it's a crazy market, and I actually take exception to that, and it's a subtle point. If you have low interest rates and for a number of reasons, inventory is being snapped up immediately, so it appears that there's low inventory. It's a feeding frenzy. And some people say, oh, it's a crazy market. I actually think it's predictable. Okay. High demand, low interest rates. It just drives the feeding frenzy. I'm okay with it because like I said, I think it's predictable. It's annoying. It's hard if you're representing a buyer trying to get into a home. That's a challenge right now. Sellers in some cases say, I don't have to do anything to sell this house. And we advise them that if they do just a little bit of work, it'll make a difference for them in the long run. And so that's a challenge. But it's, I don't mean to simplify it too much, but it's work. That's what we do. So I'm okay with it. What's your perspective on it as a loan officer?
It's interesting, Gary. I think there's a lot of good things that are happening, but I also think that it can be challenging for a lot of folks, especially if they're on the buy side. I read your article in the Community Advocate the other day regarding it's kind of a one-sided market, and I was very interested in some of the points that you brought up in the article, and I thought maybe our listeners might be interested in hearing them, because it really is, as you said, a lot of people think, well, just throw the house on the market and it'll sell in immediate, but there's a lot more to it, and how to really have a smooth transaction in this market. I thought you might want to share some of that with our listeners.
Well, I would love to take credit for everything in that article, but I can't. One of our broker owners is a guy by the name of Chuck Joseph. He's forgotten more about real estate than I'll ever know. Chuck used to be a teacher, so he has a very nice style when he starts to talk about things like this. And we talked about this in a meeting within the company recently, and I thought it was very interesting and kind of the genesis for the article. When it comes to writing those articles, I'm not going to say it's writer's block, but I always do try to think about what's the topic. And then my style is I think about it for a while so that I kind of generate sound bites, and then I put those together into the article. In this particular case, I think the first point that Chuck tried to drive home is that when you're looking at an offer, if you're the seller, right now, most houses that are on the market are getting, multiple offers. So how do you evaluate them becomes the question. Sue and I always put together an Excel spreadsheet for the seller that says, here's the different offers, here's what their inspection time frame is, here's their deposit, here's everything about the offer. And then we also put in, frankly, off the record section. So give you an example of something that is off the record. If an offer comes in and it's sloppy, what's sloppy? Well, Sloppy could be it's incomplete. Sloppy in this day and age, it's kind of hard to understand why anyone would do a handwritten offer, but we get them. If the handwritten offer is illegible, I don't know, it's hard for me to look at it. And so you spend time on the phone with the other agent. So you take all of that and then you say, okay, what's the strength of the buyer? So what's their loan to value, their LTV? Now, Brad, you deal with LTV all the time.
Right.
How do you define LTV?
Well, exactly. So the amount of money that a person is going to be borrowing as compared to what the appraisal, the lower of appraisal or purchase price is. That's LTV. That's what we use. And it's a good indicator as to, well, number one, the strength of the loan. Obviously, the more, so to speak, skin in the game the buyer has, the better the bank's position is on it, right? The more they have vested into that property, and also the more sometimes they get a better interest rate because they've got more equity built into the transaction.
Well, one of the other things that drives to is if someone's a cash buyer, there is no loan. So that kind of pushes them in many ways to the front of the pack. What we're seeing though is if you have a cash buyer for themselves, for their own home, you tend to get a reasonable offer. If it's an investor that's doing the buying, it may be a cash offer, but it's not going to be a high value offer. It may often be a lowball offer. And in some cases, someone might want a lowball offer. If you've got a house, let's say it's on the market for $500,000 and someone comes in with a $450,000 offer, all cash, no inspection, no contingencies, seller, they know their home. They may be drawn to that because they know that an inspection is going to uncover many things. Whereas a developer is going to go in many cases, they might gut remodel the place, and they're going to be able to fix anything that they come across. So loan to value, I think, is one of the big things. The next thing becomes price. What is the price that they're putting on the offer? Right now, I have to admit, this is the part where I think it is a little crazy. Let's take a $500,000 house. We're now seeing multiple offers, and it used to be, this is going to go 10,000 over asking. We're now seeing 25, 35,000 over asking. And in some cases for a home that's, let's say $1 million, you're getting offers coming in hundreds of thousands of dollars over asking.
But Gary, let me ask you a question, because this is one, and it's come up, in the last year or so more often than you would think. One of the tactics that I've heard is that buyers will, in order to get that property off the market, they will bid it up to the highest price they can, knowing that the property might not appraise, and then they'll come back to the renegotiation table, right? So if they have built in there a mortgage contingency that says the property has to appraise for the purchase price, and they know it's being bid up, they figure, well, we can get it off the market this way, and then we've got this new strategy. We'll come back to the negotiation table now while the other buyers have left the bidding war, so to speak.
Right.
How do you handle that as a listing agent?
Well, I think that one of the things that we do is we go in and we talk to the loan officer. I always talk to the loan officer on someone getting a mortgage and say, what can you tell me about them? How strong are they? Some loan officers will say, who is it? And may not be as intimate with the transaction. Other loan officers, I talked to one the other day, and I know the couple, they used to live in Dedham. They've sold their house. They have nothing to sell. I've gone through their assets. I've gone through all their stuff. They are ready to go. Frankly, I have called loan officers where the loan officer says, I don't know why they're buying a house. They don't have the money. And I look at that and say, well, you've given us a pre-approval. What are you doing? Why are you giving a pre-approval? And if you don't think they can afford a house, So it's amazing what you find out, I guess, is the bottom line when you talk to the loan officer. And then you
It's
try
interesting.
to say, if the house doesn't appraise, how are you going to make up that difference? Some people say that they'll bring cash to the table. If you've got someone that's got a strong loan to value, they may be able to accommodate a somewhat larger loan than they would otherwise.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because twofold. First of all, I, as a loan officer, feel, I want the best for my client. I want to be able to help them secure a property. And in this competitive market, sometimes it means me going above and beyond what might be the quote unquote definition of a loan officer's responsibility. And that means reaching out to the listing agent, explaining the due diligence that I have. And you're absolutely right. The amount of due diligence that a loan officer does up front is very varied. To get you can get a pre-approval letter from many lenders with just a conversation, and maybe they pull a credit. And those pre-approvals are not worth the paper they're printed on. And it's scary because they're going out there, they're making offers, and I feel bad for the consumers because they don't really understand. Whereas, I feel a responsibility to do my due diligence. I review their income, their assets, their liabilities. I look at their credit report. I look at their W-2s, pay stubs, and bank statements, so that when I have a conversation, let's assume you're the listing agent on it, I can say, listen, I have fully vetted these people. I have looked at their income. I've looked at their assets. I've run their credit, and I've run it through a preliminary underwriting software. And they look great. They're, as you said, they're ready to go. And I've been doing this for over 34 years. So it's not like I'm a newbie that I'm likely to trip up on a simple mistake. So I think those things are really, really important, when you're looking at different pre-approval letters and things.
So Brad, save that thought. I think we've got to go pay some bills for the station, and then we'll come back and we'll pick up with your 34 years of experience.
All right, sounds good.
You've been listening to All Things Real Estate on Full Service Radio, 830 WCRN.